Hello and welcome back to Excelsive. You might have watched my video about the switch function, which eliminates the need of using the nested if functions. If you haven't, I'll leave a card on top right and the link in the description. This time, I have something that will help you take your VLOOKUP game to the next level using the switch function. Most of you must have used VLOOKUP in their daily work routine and are aware that VLOOKUP brings your desired value depending upon a lookup value. Like in our example sheet here, we have our employee list here, all 23 of them. Then in the following sheets, we have our sales figures against each employee. Sheet names are the relevant month, and if you notice closely, number of employees change in each sheet. Maybe some employees are on leave or they have left and new employees are hired. So we need to find the sales of our employees using VLOOKUP. Let's write the formula. But before that, let me show you quickly how the sheet is made. Because as they say, preparation is important, and in order for it to work, we need to make sure we have our data in the way we want it to be. We have our employees in a neat drop-down list, so you will be able to change them easily. And so do our monthly sheets. We have them in another drop-down here. If your file has many sheets and you don't want to type them all, check my video about getting a list of all the sheets in your file, and that will make your job a lot easier. You can find the link on top right and in the description. All our month sheets have data in a table, and each of those tables have been renamed to make them easy to identify. You know, whenever you convert your data in a table, Excel automatically gives it a unique name. Let me show you how. If I am to convert this employee list into a table, I click somewhere in the data itself and press Ctrl T, and I get this menu. It has location of my data here and a checkbox which asks if my data has headers. Our data here does, so we leave it checked. Once we hit OK, our data is converted into a table. What you are not able to see straight off is we have a new tab up here, Table Design, when we are inside our table. And if we go up here, now we can see that this table has been named automatically by Excel. We can change this name to whatever we want by clicking here. Just make sure to keep it unique so it doesn't clashes with any other table name in our file. As I showed earlier, we have data for each month in a separate sheet, and all of this data is in a table. And I have changed the name of the table depending on the month. Excel gave the table in July month a name, Table 1. I changed it to Table 1 July. It then gave Table 2 for August, so I changed it to Table 2 AUG. You can leave them as is, but it gets easier to identify since the month is added to the table name. Now, getting back to our VLOOKUP formula. The idea is to write a formula that takes the name in this cell as the lookup value and brings up the sale for that name from the relevant sheet. The next drop-down is for the month from where we have to bring the sales. Easy stuff, right? Let's begin. Let's select the first name in our drop-down here. Then we start with VLOOKUP. Our lookup value is C2. For table array, we could go to our July sheet to select it, or since we are smart and have converted the data in a table and renamed it to something we can easily identify, we are going to use that name. As soon as we start writing table, we get all these lists of all the tables here. We highlight table 1, July, and press tab. Now for column index number, we mention 4 since our sales data is in the 4th column. Range lookup is 0 because we want an exact match, and done. Here we have our value. Let's verify with Miss Aisha. Just to check the formula, let's go to our July sheet and verify, and here she is. And here is the sales amount. So our formula works flawlessly. While we are in this sheet, let's choose another name and check our formula against that. Here, Luca Costa has made total sales of $9,965. Let's change our name to Luca Costa in the drop-down, and here is the sales value, $9,965. What if we come across someone that wasn't working in July? What if we select a lookup value which is not present in that particular month? Instead of checking all the names and finding who was working when, let me bring up a cheat sheet I prepared for this video. So it's easier to find who was working when and what sales did they generate. Now, say we choose Isabella Chen, which is not in our July sheet. We'll get a #NA error, which is expected and easily fixable. We'll use the if error function before our VLOOKUP, and where for our value if error argument, we mention no sales in double quotes. So now, whenever we come across an employee which is not present in a certain month, we get this message, which looks better than #NA on our sheets. That was simple. But what if we want our result to also consider the month from this dropdown? What if we could select the name from here and the month from here and still get our result? Quick answer is we change our month in our VLOOKUP formula. For instance, if we want to look in August, we select our table array argument and change it to table to AUG. And that will do the trick, right? Well, it will, but that's not the efficient way to do it. What if we could cycle between all the months in this example and don't have to change our formula every time we want the data for another month? That's not possible with standard VLOOKUP since it needs a table array, and we need something that could tell VLOOKUP to change its table array argument depending on the value in this dropdown. Enter the switch function. With the help of the switch function, we can easily cycle between our table array. Let me show you how. We just need to change our table array argument, so we are going to edit our current formula instead of writing it from scratch. So let's select our table array and start with a switch formula. For our expression, we choose C3. Then for our value 1, we write the month as it is in our dropdown, in double quotes. So we mention JUL in double quotes. For result, just like in our VLOOKUP formula earlier, we use table 1 JUL for July. Now, if our value in C3 is July, it will consider our table on the July sheet. Moving on, for value 2, we use AUG for August in double quotes, and for result, we choose table 2 AUG. If you have watched my video on the switch function, you know what it simply does is, it compares the expression with the value, and if it matches, it shows the result. In here, if our value is JUL, July, it will result in table 1 JUL, which becomes a table array for our VLOOKUP formula. If it isn't that, it moves to our value 2, which is AUG, August, and it goes on and on until it has exhausted all the values and results you have provided in your formula. By the way, there can be 126 such values that you can use with your switch formula. Here we have our formula completed, and let's test it. Let us bring our cheat sheet again and find a name. Malik Jackson. He hasn't worked in July and October but has worked in other months. Let's choose Malik in our first drop down here and month in here, and here we have our result, no sales. Now let's check Malik for the month of November, and it comes up as 3784, which is exactly what it says here. So our formula works flawlessly. And that is how you can use two variables in a VLOOKUP formula with a little help from Switch. I hope this will be able to help you do your job better and elevate your VLOOKUP game. That's it for this video. If you haven't already, like, comment, share and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, happy spreadsheeting.